What's going on? What's going on, team? How you guys doing today? How are we doing today? Just gonna wait for Nini to get in here. So today, y'all, conversation I think would be a really good conversation, like always. But today, I think it's something that hits all of us, even myself. What's up, Nini? Can you hear me?
Afternoon. Yes.
Afternoon. How you doing?
Good.
Well, all right. Well, let's get right to it. All right. Let's welcome everybody. Welcome back to our amazing Transformation Tuesday conversation. We are in week 6, and today we are going to be discussing something that most everybody struggles with. I think I know I struggle with it, but I don't always like to admit it unless behind closed doors to my coach. And it's the cravings, the emotional eating, and the fear of carbs, man. Um, so
When you think about this one, I think before we even start, number one, I want to make sure everybody's clear. Cravings are not the weakness, it's
mhm,
information. And it helps
mhm.
us decode what is happening and what we really need to do.
Facts. It is. Most people are trying to fight the cravings with willpower when they actually just need to find some structure and systems that, like we've been talking about, to
hmm
set ourselves up for success. So you got anything that you see in this space right now, other than me, using me as an example?
I've got plenty. And
Well,
typically for many people, it's the if you crave sweets, crave ice. People who crave red meat. That's why I say this is a way to decode what is really going on with individuals because it can pinpoint deficiencies, but it can also pinpoint recovery mechanisms that are not where they need to be. So let's paint a picture, right? So let's think about somebody who, and this is typical, and those of you who are watching this now or watching this later, you think about your journey and you may say, you know what, I've been good all day. Maybe if you drink coffee, you had a coffee, you had a light lunch, you had a salad at some point. Then, as soon as the evening hits, when it's time for you to potentially eat dinner, or maybe even after dinner, all of a sudden you're in the refrigerator, you're in the pantry because the craving has hit and you think it's just a craving. But then it's the guilt that's associated with it. And then you say, what? Troy, what is the line?
it's going to be in the next morning. I'll restart. And this isn't about discipline, but this is about the biology of stress. But I always say that this the next day I'm going to restart.
Yep. So what happens is for many of you, right? We painted that picture, and some of you, that is you. You had a call. You heard us say coffee. That means no breakfast.
Yeah, hold on. No, go back to. I'm still locked in on something you said, and you said if you're craving something, eat ice.
Yeah, so people who eat ice. So these are typical types of cravings that people have. And that's why I say, y'all, it's a way for us to decode what's going on. So, for example, someone who eats a lot of ice, many men do not experience this, but ladies do. The
I know
ladies who are
ladies sitting on
watching,
ice chips. Yeah,
they'll
let me just
eat
get some
ice
ice.
all the time. It can typically mean that you may have low iron or you're anemic and that you are fatigued. You who
Huh.
crave a lot of chocolate, it can really be kind of emotional comfort, but usually that signals stress or hormone fluctuations,
Hmm.
or people who are crave sugar, it typically is going to mean that there's some type of spike, very high cortisol levels, or either big blood sugar swings, which typically decodes to you don't have enough protein. People who crave salt, you usually dehydrated, extremely dehydrated. So you constantly like salty snacks, salty chips. You want more
Hmm.
salt always. Or those of you who every now and then say, hey, you know what? I'm really craving red meat. That is an indicator of low B12 or protein needs. So you have to pay attention to what your body is saying. And that's why when we talk about that no guilt, it's not a guilty thing to talk about cravings. We have to look at what is your normal routine, what might be happening, what might be missing, so we can adjust your food in general.
You know, within that, I'm still even questioning as you like hit off all of them. I'm like, well, I feel like I crave that. I feel like I crave that. I feel like I crave that. And I'm wondering if I crave it, if it's habitual, and sometimes boredom.
Yeah.
I'm not negating that it could be a craving, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm also saying, is it just something that I'm used to every time I get my food? I salt my food pretty decently.
Yeah.
Am I really
But
dehydrated? I don't know. Maybe I don't feel like it. I don't think my urine constantly makes me feel. There are days though. There are days.
yeah. But this is why
Um,
when we look at
the
overall
sugar with
activity.
stress has me like
Mhm.
I am in this business. I am stressed, so I'm like lately I feel like I have been craving sugar more. I don't know. But is it because I pulled so much away at that
Yeah.
one point in time? The extremism of it is now I'm
Mhm.
overly craving it. So I'm trying to piece together what you just said,
So
man.
there can be a lot of things, but also chronic fatigue and lack of sleep. And so we will definitely just go ahead and say
Mm-hmm.
probably the case. And especially
Mm-hmm.
with the amount of activity we've got between, especially if we're talking about you right now,
Yeah.
right? If it's the bike, getting ready for the Ironman, it's the running, it's getting ready for the high rocks, it's maybe lack of sleep. And so you can find yourself craving things not necessarily because nutritionally you're just missing it, but because you literally haven't recovered. And that's probably a fair statement
Yeah.
right now.
And I feel, and if I'm being honest, I think I with all that I'm doing, I think
Mhm.
I allow myself sometimes to get more lax than I would in another setting. I'm like, man, I'm biking 30 minutes to an hour a day. I'm
Mhm.
running at least 45 minutes every time I'm doing a workout. I'm walking around. It's like, yeah, I think I negotiate or allow too much leniency some days, and I allow the cravings or the yeah, whatever it may be, I
Because it's
let them
still
creep in.
comfort, right? So for
It
the,
is, that's why, as I
let's
say, the
say
comfortness
it's still
of it.
comfort. And so for the average person, and I say the average person because normal everyday people aren't this active. So that's why I say an
Yeah,
average person, right? Average person is not
yeah,
preparing for a
average
marathon
Joe.
or a
Yeah,
triathlon or an Ironman. They're not doing that.
true.
However, the average person is experiencing many levels of stress, lack of sleep, lack of recovery, and all the things. And so all of a sudden, when we want to transition bodies or they want to say lose weight, they want to be their best self, they typically will cut things so far down that it becomes this under eating, and the demand for
Hmm.
energy at night increases because they have been so low all day. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's not even about total caloric intake, but it's the when it's happening. So you all day, you're just like barely eating. And then in the evening, people are just so hungry because now it's like, oh my God, I've waited all day, but I was so good.
Hmm.
Right. But
Yeah, yeah.
but
And
that
it's like
doesn't
you can't
necessarily
starve
equate to
yourself
what you
into
need
that
to do.
control.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't starve yourself into that control, and eventually, just like this morning, eventually your body wins, right? When we with the conversation we had this morning about the gentleman that I was telling you,
Yeah.
they did that thing, and he supposedly thought he was under eating 2,000 calories a day. Said he has this cheat meal or cheat day. That cheat day so massive, he's not even realizing it's doubling his intake throughout the week. He's eating so much in the cheat meal, he doesn't even realize because one, he's not writing it down. He doesn't have a coach. He's
Hmm.
doing it on his own, and it's just like your body eventually wins, bro. Like you can't keep doing that. Like he eats
Yep.
five or 6 days out of the week very good, but that one day, you're like quadrupling your, 5xing his normal daily intake. So it pans out that his whole week is really 35 to
It's not
4,000
great,
calories
right? But luckily for that
for that
individual,
person.
that person, that's their profession, they're training at a level that their body can support it, but it just wasn't what he thought. However, for the
Yeah.
average everyday person, they view those moments of weakness, right? They say it's
Mm-hmm.
I'm a weak, or I'm emotionally I'm a weak, and they feel guilty, but it's not. It's just a physiology of who we are. You cannot keep going on long periods of time with barely eating out of I want to be fitter, healthier, I want to lose weight. So I'm going to be so nothing. I'm going to eat nothing and then not expect your body to let you know, "Hey, I'm struggling."
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
then people feel guilty, but that's not that.
Yeah, but so like kind of bringing that all the way around, we talked about we talked about this gentleman, and we're talking about you're talking general, but with the gentleman, he was eating things that was carb dominant. So then this is how we fly into carbs get the bad blame for everything. Um, and in 2026, people are still blaming carbs
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
everything and not their lack of training, right?
Yeah.
Like, and you
And
preach
people
this, and you were just talking about that like a week or two ago. You were saying like, I'm not telling you not to eat carbs, but just is it based around your daily activity? How much have you earned? Basically, is what you're saying, and not or you didn't use earned. I said
yeah.
earned, but you said how much have you done, and is that going to help you in the way
Yeah.
that you eat
Does it
carbs?
support the
Basically,
person? Carbs
support.
always
Yes.
get vilified. And so what happens is people tend to decrease them so dramatically. They
Mm-hmm.
never get the point of low carbs doesn't mean no
No
carbs. And so
carbs.
I think people take it so far from overindulging to none. Boom. Like one day to the next, they've chopped it so massively that they can't escape cravings. They cannot escape the energy drop, performance drop. Then people gonna
Mm-hmm.
binge eat. They are gonna binge eat. However, you have to pay attention to what are the carbs that your body needs based on your output. People forget that when we look at fueling bodies, there's still, four groups, and it's still going to be, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we would say five, but it would
Mm-hmm.
still be protein, carbohydrates, fats, water, and then alcohol, if that
Alcohol.
was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you cut carbs so dramatically, typically it would mean that something else must increase. But oftentimes people chop those carbs so much and they never increase protein. So not only do they find themselves depleted of fast energy or quick energy, they also are losing sustained energy because the protein intake is no longer sufficient for such a lack of carbs. And so you get a very tired individual all around.
So
And then
when I'm
they're going to binge
tired,
eat.
so
You're
when
going to
I'm
binge out.
tired, right? Yeah, so I'm tired, I'm binging, now I'm upset,
Yeah.
right? So what happens when I'm upset or I don't like the person in the mirror anymore?
And it sucks because then that type of I'm upset, I'm sad, I don't like it, nothing works for me, pushes you even further to the emotional eating and stress eating. So it gets worse. It's like compounded in sadness and emotional eating, stress triggers, all the things.
So it was speaking about emotional eating, right? I know for a fact you've dealt with 2 to 3 individuals either personally going through a hardship with medical or their spouse has gone through a hardship and they had to deal with that, and but
Mhm.
you're working specifically with the said individual, and do you see, I mean, I feel like for by the grace of God they were working with you as the thing kind of both times. I feel like 2 different occasions the people were
Mhm.
working with you that I know of. um but how do you handle that, and how do you guide them into not delving into that emotional eating, especially when they're in a place like friends or family are around, and that's all they're bringing on me. That's how people feel like they share their support. And just me real quick dropping like when Amon and them went through their thing, I tried to make it my purpose to not send food that wasn't pretty healthy. One day I did send them pizza. It was like a Friday. I wanted the kid to, their son to just kind of be able to enjoy something. But every other day, I was trying to send them something that wasn't necessarily bad because I know that that's what people, and they don't even think about it. You know, they try to give
Mm-hmm.
them comforting food.
Mm-hmm.
So, how do you
And
help
this is
negate the emotional eating and comfort food situation?
the hardest part is helping people understand that, especially when stress is high, sleep is low, people feel like their boundaries are really weak, they're exhausted, and oftentimes that usually comes with grief, some type of extreme loss. It's helping them see that the journey doesn't have to be perfect in that process, because usually what people do in our spaces, they either are going to be all in or all out,
Hmm.
or when grief happens or the stress happens, they don't understand that we can just pivot, we can could just come down one level. They usually tend to come all the way out. So the one thing that I talk about a lot, and we address this a lot in our 12-week transformation program, is this is never a in or out. We are always in. These are
Hmm.
the habits that help you be successful in business, in life, for longevity, for later in life. However, we never come out. All we're going to do is adjust based on what life is handing, because life will always life. And so we have to look at what are the things that, if you are struggling, how do we help you drop one level if we need to? And then how do we help you replace things that maybe you would have, traditionally floated towards? How do we help you transition into something else? So I like to use, I call them safe foods for people. It's the things
Hmm.
that they really like but are
Hmm.
not detrimental to their health or their journey, so they could go backwards. So in times of struggle or extreme high stress, I may give them, or they may create with me, a list of like 10 food safe foods that, if they are still working on emotional eating, stress eating, that these are the ones that we're going to go to if we cannot control the situation and we're not there yet,
Mm.
because it takes a long time for people
Mm.
to get over emotional eating, stress eating. That's a
Mm.
lifelong thing, and that just doesn't happen in 2 months, 3 months. That's something you'll deal with for a very long time. So we need to get you to a place where it's not detrimental, and we use this list, and those are the things that are always going to be accessible in times of stress, whether it's in their bag, in a purse, in a briefcase, in a book bag, whatever it's going to be,
Ah,
so that they can do that without
yeah.
feeling like I just lost it.
I don't think people realize how good that information is right there to make sure that you're proactive or preactive instead of just proactive or reactive, right?
Hmm.
So you putting that, you asking them prior till, like, what are your hardship, like for me. So if I was like, I every now and then I crave a pizza, every now and then I'm gonna crave a burger from an outside source rather than just Monique, a burger and fries rather than Monique doing that, and
Yep.
some pancakes.
Yep.
I love
So,
having pancakes.
yep.
So,
And let's say, because for you, let's say we're talking about Troy today. Number one, if you know Troy, then we know that pancakes are not going to be his best goal, because he's probably going to have a big stomach ache.
mhm,
Pizza is probably going to be detrimental. It can take us all the way left
mhm,
digestively. So then it
mhm,
becomes, what is a better option?
mhm,
Because what he can do is control some of the ingredients. So, for example, I may not say, "Hey, Troy, I know that you love pizza and we're never going to do it again." But what Troy can do is make one at home with the freshest ingredients that he and I both already know. There's certain ingredients that won't bother him in this scenario. So, we can make one
mhm.
if we feel like things are going left and we need a little bit of reprieve. If it's a
Got you.
burger and fries, then let's think about which one that we are going to get and from where. We know
Okay.
ahead of time and where. If it is a French fries thing, hey, you know what? We can still make French fries at home
Yeah.
and they're going to be just as good. And so, what are the things that we need to do? Or if I know that he's going to lose it at night, he just sent me one the other day, that has the dates, pistachios, and the chocolate. We can make it at home and chop
Mhm.
it into little bars. So at least we know if we're getting left, we've got the
Yeah.
treat, and we can control ingredients, but we can control quantity and frequency very easily without feeling like we lost it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And that right there, all of those things are just keys to not allowing this emotional eating to take over, and that food isn't necessarily the problem. I need to just have better coping mechanisms, right?
Yeah. And until somebody figures out the trigger, and that's the biggest part, is there's always going to be triggers for emotional
Mm-hmm.
eating, but then high
Mm-hmm.
stress for the majority of people in life, adults, you're going to see one of two things. Either you're going to see people go towards high carbohydrate sweet eating or no
Mm-hmm.
eating. Either way, both of them
Mm.
are not good. So that's what you're going to see. But typically, you're going to see people do more of the I'm going to eat the sweets, or this, or I'm going to drink more wine, I'm going to drink more alcohol. These are the things that people go towards. And we have to work through it because you don't always get the opportunity just to flip a switch and say, I'm going to change that behavior tomorrow. No, you're probably
Yeah.
not. We're going to
Yeah.
actively have to keep working on that.
Yeah, I mean, you just saying you got to work through it is like another step on not even just the emotional eating, but the craving control.
Yep.
Like how do you battle the cravings that are habitual more than just the emotional? Maybe I feel good for a couple months. I'm not even going through emotional, but I still have these wicked cravings.
And those are where we start to get into behaviors and habits. Because when you start to think about things that are chronic, those are not the cravings of situation. Those
Hmm.
types of cravings are going to be, hey, I've just been doing it a long time. It's just
Hmm.
something that you do, and it is
That's why I
very
was
hard.
asking, is it like a
Just
habit?
like just like you tie your shoes a certain way, just like you brush your teeth a certain way, whatever it is, you do it on a regular basis. So we have to start to break down what is missing for you, because
Hmm.
regardless, there's something that might be missing in the diet, or literally it's just a habit and you just get bored.
Hmm.
You're not hungry. And so that's when we want to get into what we call a little bit of the craving control ladder,
Yeah.
which is, let's check some things first. Before we take that step, we're going to check a few things. Number one, are we thirsty? Because as adults, typically, you have lost, many adults do not have a great trigger of hunger versus thirst. When you are children, children know very well hunger versus thirst. But as people get older, you get out of the habit because we have varied schedules. People get busy and they stop eating and drinking on a
Mm.
normal cadence. Versus when we're feeding children, we feed them on a very consistent basis, but they
Hmm.
also are very aware of, hey, I am thirsty. Like kids will tell you very clearly, I
Yes.
am thirsty versus I am hungry. Adults start to lose that. So we have to help get that cueing back on which one is it. So are you thirsty? And if you're not thirsty, then the second is going to be, have I had enough protein today? Oftentimes, for many people, it's a no because their breakfast is a little low. Breakfast is low specifically. Lunch, people, if you eat lunch, right? Catch, if you eat lunch, usually people will nail lunch. Breakfast and dinner is a crapshoot for a lot of people, and we lose it. So the more
Mm.
consistent we can get you, the better. Then the third question is, are my meals balanced? Do I actually have the right amount of carbs? Have I been restricting them? Do I have fiber? Like, to do a little bit of reality check. And then the last one is, have you been so rigid that you have left out things that are fun? If you like dark chocolate, even in a caloric
Yeah.
deficit, it's no way that we're saying you cannot have a small piece of dark chocolate or
Yeah.
a
No.
small item in a day or a couple times a week. When you take those away, that's how you lose it. So that's when we say, oh, well, maybe we might need to put something back for you so that we can keep you on track. And you
Yeah.
learn how to eat it with the right level of frequency.
I think 21 we started our first first meal plan together. You working on me, 20 or 21 when I did the
Hmm.
first. You've never taken away a craving. Like
Mm-mm.
whenever I've told you, you've just figured out a way to work through it. Like you never was like, hey, if I said, hey, I need something sweet at this time of day, and you're like, cool, we'll work that through. So yeah, it's like when you
Yeah.
plan for those cravings, they stop controlling you for sure. And
Yeah,
I
it's a
think that
mistake.
you
It is a
definitely do
hundred
that.
percent a mistake to take it away from people. The
Hmm.
only people we do that to are fitness competitors, and that's at the
Yeah, but
last
no, you did.
stage.
I was gonna say even
It's
when
the
I was
last
gonna say
step.
all the way up until about the last 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks.
That's it.
That's it. Like all the way up through.
It's
If
a
we doing a
month for
16
many
week, the
people. That's it.
first 10 weeks, you let me rock pretty. I mean,
Yeah,
not
you
loosely,
can't.
obviously, but we dialed in as much as we need to be on target, and then it's
Even for
and
our
at that time, you know
ladies.
it.
Yeah, even for our ladies, we know we can do it. And hormone control is so much more detrimental for our female fitness competitors. So we can't go that strict that long. So we're talking probably 30 days max
Yeah,
that you're not going to have this particular like sweet at all. But to an average everyday person who wants to be healthy, wants to be fit, wants to transform into the best version of themselves from an aesthetic standpoint, we're still going to have things that make sense because that's how we learn the habits. That is how we help you stay. And
yeah,
that's how you're
and
consistent.
for sure. And the people who stay lean long term don't avoid carbs forever. You're like,
Mm-mm.
it's not what you can't. It's not even realistic, right?
Nope. For anybody.
Um, yeah, so I feel like control doesn't come from restriction, it comes from predictability. And that's what you do. And that's what we do in the program is like I'm writing out the program. You see how the program should be going as far as nutrition. You're predicting how we're both predicting together how this individual should look based
Hmm.
on what we're doing. And I feel like those are questions, though, like we said, how I have to ask myself is like, when do I have these cravings at the highest level? Am I under eating early in the day? Like, was I getting enough? So those are questions that I try to ask myself.
Yep. And so we have to, in our programs, that's what we're about. If you think you're struggling and you're constantly restarting on Monday, that is where we talk about how you build structure. Because that's when, if you don't have a good strategy, if you don't have structure to your meals, and many times people feel like, well, gosh, I don't want it to be super rigid. Rigid does not mean structure. Those are two very different words. Rigid means no room for error. You're striving for perfection. You've taken out any and everything. Structure means there's a cadence to what you do to help you be successful. It's a plan.
Guys, if you are looking for a transformation like we're talking about, looking for that structure, you need that plan, you can afford to have some guidance in your life, the link in is going to be in the description. Please join us in this 12-week transformation so we can help you get to the best version of you. And next week, we're going to be breaking down how much training you actually do need within that, man, because more is not always better, right, Nina?
Yep. But we still need to
Um,
understand intensity. I
yeah,
can't wait
so
for this discussion.
yeah. So we appreciate you guys as always for joining us. We hope to see you next Tuesday, but even sooner if you want to sign up, remember the description has the link and you can join our team at any time. We appreciate y'all and we will see you next Tuesday.
See you next week.
Yeah.